The first mistake is picking the wrong IV fluid type. And to avoid picking the wrong IV fluid type, we need to understand these three things. Understand the relation of sodium content and volume, and the free water content of each IV fluid type, and more importantly, what's the exact indication to start IV fluid. Before we continue, if you would like to receive a summary of this video, please subscribe to my Substack. The link to my Substack page is provided below. Let's start with the relation between sodium and volume. The total body sodium is proportionally related to the body volume status. The lower the sodium content, the more we are toward volume depletion, and the higher the sodium content, the more we are toward volume overload. So that's why we restrict sodium intake in patients with volume overload. So the higher the content of sodium in any IV fluid type, the more the volume. The volume is the substance that gives you pressure in the intravascular space. So it's very important to understand this. The higher the sodium, the higher the volume. So 3% normal saline is up here, and then 0.9 NS followed by Plasmalyte and lactated ringer. They're very closely related here, and these are isotonic solution because their sodium concentration is similar or close to the body serum sodium concentration. Then we have the half NS, quarter NS, and the dextrose. The dextrose solution, especially 5% dextrose, it's isotonic. Volume-wise, it has 0, similar to free water, because it has no sodium. Very important to understand that. The free water content, probably you've seen that from previous video. So isotonic solution, the 0.9S, LR, Plasmalyte, all has 0 free water except 5% dextrose or D5W. Despite its isotonic, it has 100% free water. As we explained, once infused, all the sugar is absorbed and all you left is free water. Now the hypotonic solution, the quarter NS, 75% of each bag is free water, and the half NS, the 0.45 NS, 50% of each bag is free water. Very important to understand that. You must have a clear idea why are you starting IV fluid. Is it because resuscitation, maintenance, free water replacement, or electrolytes replacement? These are the main why we start IV fluid, and we must have a clear idea which one of those we are targeting with starting IV fluid. Let's start with resuscitation. Resuscitation means repleting the intravascular volume depletion, and this can be absolute, where there is a true volume loss like fluid loss like in diarrhea, vomiting, hemorrhage, third spacing like in acute pancreatitis, or relative mainly because of vasodilation as in happen in sepsis and anaphylaxis. So this is relative volume depletion. The ideal fluid type for resuscitation has to have the following criteria. The sodium content or concentration is similar to or close to the serum sodium concentration, which by default isotonic. Every fluid type that has sodium concentration similar or close to the serum sodium concentration is by default isotonic. The opposite is not true. And it causes no fluid shift. When we give it, it does not shrink or swell the cells, does not move the fluid into the cells or out of the cells. And it has no significant impact on electrolytes level. So let's go over this type of IV fluid and see which one fits these criteria. The 3% NS, the problem is very high sodium load, okay, but cause shift of the fluid and can impact the electrolyte levels, impact the sodium level, so it's not good. 0.9 NS, it has sodium concentration similar to the or close to the body serum concentration. It does not cause fluid shifts and it does not impact the electrolytes, significantly impact electrolytes levels. LR, the same thing. Plasmalyte, the same thing. Now 0.45 NS has way less sodium concentration compared to the body serum sodium, so it's not good. D5W, it has no sodium, it has no volume, so it's not good. The isotonic bicarb drip, it has sodium concentration similar or close to the body serum sodium concentration. It does not impact electrolytes significantly except the bicarb level. That's why it can be a good choice if you need to replace bicarb. Now how about the 0.45 or half NS, and if you add 150 milli equivalent of potassium, so that will be 154 plus 150, that will be 304 milli equivalent total, which is isotonic. But is it good for resuscitation? Of course no, because you're giving large amount of potassium and can significantly impact electrolyte balance and cause critical hyperkalemia. So it's not good for resuscitation. It's very important also to go over this, that the amount of fluid or water in the body is 2/3 intracellularly and 1/3 extracellularly. The extracellular space is divided between intravascular and interstitium, and it's divided 25% is in the intravascular space and 75% in the interstitium. So if you give 1000 ml of 0.9 NS, only 250 ml stays intravascular, because the 1000 ml all of it will stay extracellularly. It doesn't shift inside the cells, but only 25% will remain intravascular. So remember this, that only quarter of this remain intravascularly. Same apply for other isotonic solution except the dextrose solutions, of course. Resuscitation fluid has to be given fast. Bolus, which means wide open as fast as possible, or fast rate 250 to 500 ml per hour. And these are mainly for hemodynamic instability. You have to give it as fast as possible. Now, some cases you may go to a slower rate. Slow rate, you give it to hemodynamically stable patients. You still feel their need volume depletion, but there is no rush. Maybe it's somebody with mild hypotonic, hypovolemic hyponatremia, or somebody with acute renal failure that you feel just with 100 cc of normal saline or LR will correct overnight. Now, which one to pick? Lactated ringer, Plasmalyte, 0.9 NS, or isotonic bicarb drip? So it's very clear that the isotonic bicarb drip is good when there is metabolic acidosis or hyperkalemia and they need resuscitation. So these are the indication where you think of isotonic bicarb drip, and I mentioned that in my hyperkalemia treatment video. And remember, the isotonic bicarb, you can give it as a bolus, you can give it 250 to 500 cc an hour, even you can give it 1000 cc an hour. So don't be afraid to give high amount in such a short time if you need. Now, the Plasmalyte, I'm going to cross it off because what? Because it's expensive. The pharmacy will not dispense it for you just to give boluses. There are cheaper alternatives, which is 0.9 NS and LR. 0.9 NS or LR, whatever you pick, nobody really will blame you. But I always prefer lactated ringer. And actually, it's preferred in acute pancreatitis because they say it's reduces the risk of SIRS, right? The systemic inflammatory response syndrome. But it has a little bit more water, so less risk of hypernatremia. And it has lactate, so less risk of normal anti-GAB acidosis, metabolic acidosis. It has very small potassium, so less risk of hypokalemia. I cannot think of an indication where 0.9 NS can be used and LR cannot. So that's why I always use LR. Or some say that the lactate is a substrate of gluconeogenesis, so this may worsen hyperglycemia. That's why in DKA and non-ketotic hyperesmolar hyperglycemia, they use 0.9 NS. But some recent studies suggest this is even the balanced solution LR or Plasmalytes are better even in DKA and non-ketotic hyperesmolar hyperkalemia. Even in hyperkalemia, do not shy from using LR. The potassium there is very small amount. Maintenance, mainly we use maintenance fluid for prolonged NPO status, and it's mainly to replace physiologic losses. Every one of us needs water every day, needs some sugar, and needs some electrolytes, right? And it's estimated that our insensible water losses around 1500 ml per day. So that's why we need to give free water. So pick an IV fluid type that has free water, add some glucose to it to prevent catabolic states only, not to give nutrition really, and give some electrolytes. So the ideal maintenance IV fluid, it's like 0.45 NS. This is the magic solution, plus 5% dextrose solution, plus 20 MEq of potassium, and the rate, pick a rate between 75 to 125 ml per hour. You will be always correct. There is some equation they use, but pick a rate between these two numbers and you should be okay. But pay attention to the sodium level, potassium level, and glucose level. If somebody who has hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, you need to omit the D5, right? If somebody is hyponatremic already, then he needs resuscitation, doesn't need maintenance. If there's somebody is hyperkalemia, you need to take off this this potassium solution. So this is ideal maintenance IV fluid type. The free water replacement. So let's say you have a water deficit of 2000 ml. If you want to use 0.45 NS, how many liters you need? Just simple math. 50% of each bag has free water, so you need 4000 cc. Quarter NS, which I don't advise to use, and the pharmacy probably will ask you, are you sure you really need to use that? Because it's such a hypotonic solution. You will need 2.6 liters. And D5, if you use 5% dextrose, remember you need only 2000 ml. Of course, if the patient can take free water by mouth or through engine tube, free water always is the best as long as there is no absorption issues and the patient can take PO. Electrolyte replacement we mainly use for potassium replacement, magnesium replacement, and phosphorus replacement. And these bags already pre-mixed for us to use, and I have full videos on how to replace potassium and the idea of 10 MEQ per hour, no more. No, actually we can go to 20, 30, and some emergency we use 40. You can go back to my video on hypokalemia treatment. So all these are, and I have another video on the magnesium replacement. We don't have to worry much about it. The pharmacy has these bags ready for us. Phosphorus replacement with either sodium phosphate or potassium phosphate if we need to IV. Remember, oral replacement always the best option. Now, mistake number 2 is to forget to daily assess the need for IV fluid. Remember that you decided what's the indication, but every day when you're around on the patient, you must, if the indication is not valid anymore, please discontinue IV fluid as soon as possible. The patient was NPO and now is eating and drinking, hypotension and now the patient is normotensive, low urine out which was corrected, acute pancreatitis now resolved, because so many times we see patients been in IV fluid for days and have sinus fluid overload and still nobody bothered to stop the IV fluid. Keep your eyes on any drips when you go into the patient rooms and ask yourself why. Antibiotics, why? IV fluid, why? Potassium, why? All these things, and anything doesn't have an indication, stop it right away. And that brings me to mistake number 3, which is not to monitor signs of fluid overload and electrolytes, and you should monitor that closely. So when you're around the patient, check their arms and legs if there is any signs of peripheral edema, if there are any crackles when you listen to their lungs, and sometimes do you see they are on oxygen? Yesterday they were not on oxygen and now they are on oxygen, or yesterday they were on 2 liters and today they are on 4. Are they short of breath or not? Because all these signs that they developing pulmonary edema. And monitor bicarb level and monitor potassium level. These 4 here we mainly see with solution with high sodium load. Remember that. Now the hypokalemia with all fluids types. So you need to monitor that. If the bicarb level is low, patient developing normal and again metabolic acidosis, then you need to think of changing the fluid type to isotonic bicarb if you still need to keep going with IV fluid. Potassium, make sure to replace potassium aggressively. If you still need to give the fluid, it's better to add potassium to the fluid that's going on. And mistake number 4, CHF, congestive heart failure, and in this stage of disease aren't automatic contraindication to start IV fluid. The only contraindication to give really IV fluid is active pulmonary edema. Patients with CHF and end-stage disease can get very dry and volume depleted, and sometimes we need to aggressively giving them fluid resuscitation. To reassure everyone, tell them, okay, keep going with the fluid. At any point you see the patient getting short of breath, or you hear some crackles or oxygen requirements going up, stop the fluid right away and we'll deal with it. But do not deprive your patients from adequate fluid resuscitation just because of these diagnoses. And this brings me to the last mistakes, which is the NPO is not an automatic indication for IV fluid. Quite often you'll see the nurse calling you, oh, the patient is NPO, has a procedure tomorrow. Can we start some fluids? Why? The patient can go for 6, 8, 10 hours, 12 hours without anything. I only use maintenance fluid solutions for prolonged NPO status. We'll go for 24 hours or longer without eating and drinking. Then yes, I will consider starting maintenance IV fluid solution as we explained. In the end, again, if you'd like to receive a summary of this video, please subscribe to my Substack. The link is provided below. If you found this useful, please share it with your colleagues, give it a like, and if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.